Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Horror Stories from the Internet. This time we are covering a Sonic Creepypasta called Sonic 1 Tales. A pretty generic name for a pasta, but I will say it's pretty interesting once you get into reading it. So for the summary, after getting some mail from a friend of theirs, yes I know, similar startup to how the protag gets this strange game in SonicTheHedgehog, or whatever. This video is definitely gonna come out before the SonicTheHedgehog Creepypasta review video comes out, but whatever. Our main protagonist, Nathaniel, gets a box full of games called Gamesta, and in said box contains a old Sonic game with a strange note on it, written by the protag's friend, Taylor. Earlier, the main protag in the beginning of the story, Nathaniel tells us on how they aren't really much of a fan of the character Tails, due to how certain Sonic fans living in his hometown were like a bit aggressively braggy about Tails as a character towards him, and believing that Tails was way more better than Sonic as a character. As the story goes on, as mentioned before, Nathaniel gets this strange cartridge of Sonic 1 in the Gamesta box he got in the mail from his friend Taylor. The game had a strange note that was quite vague about the game's cartridge itself, and Nathaniel believes said game cartridge might be a hacked cartridge of Sonic 1. Little do they know, it's a lot more than that. Alright, so that's for the summary for this pasta. If you don't want the story spoiled for you, then skip to the review. But yeah, let's get into the story itself.
Tails is awesome! He can fly and stuff! Nothing beats that amazing fox! Sonic can suck it in the cheeks! Seriously, that's what random kids say to me my entire life. Why does everyone love Tails? Simply just take Sonic, turn him into a fox, and make him slightly weaker. Make him have yellow fur and have him fly. Bam, instant character. However, the experience I had was a bit creepy, to say the least. My name is Nathaniel, and this is the following story I had during life. It started about 2 months ago, where a friend of mine, Taylor, sent me a box of Sega Genesis games labeled Gamesta inside. Besides a collection of Genesis games, had a small note inside it reading, "This contains a game about a 1992 fox. Taylor." Was my friend a Tails fan as well? I didn't actually mind, since at least my friend didn't hate Sonic. I found the cartridge of the game about the 1992 fox. It's a Sonic 1 cartridge with Tails written on it in Sharpie. I put it in my Genesis and it seemed to work perfectly. The Sega screen came up, but for some strange reason the sound effect didn't come up. I shook this off as a small sound effect glitch. The next screen came up, the Sonic Team screen. Instead of the normal text, however, it said this: Tails Team presents. Tails Team? I know now that Taylor was a Tails fan, but why would anyone modify the game to say this? Just a humorous joke? Anyway, I started up the game with Green Hill Zone Act 1. Everything was normal. Sky, music, badniks, everything.
The only thing that wasn't normal was that there was no signpost. When I reached where it should be, it just showed the score tally with the usual Sonic has passed Act X message. Act 2 was a bit abnormal. The music was not playing correctly or glitched. There was no badniks and the sky was a bit gray. After I collected some more rings, there he was. No screamers or anything, just Tails, finally standing on the same hill as Sonic. Noticeably, he had no tails on his sprite. I wanted to see if he did anything, as I still had control of Sonic. I slowly walked towards Tails. As soon as I hit Tails, Sonic instantly lost all his rings. Tails quickly jumped away as soon as that happened. Everything that also faded to normal: palettes, music, badniks, the normal green hill I remember. What happened to Taylor's Sonic game, I thought. I continued on with Acts 2 and 3 as normal, and continued to Marble Zone 1, which also seemed normal, except with the non-existent signpost once again. Once again, Act 2 was a bit more abnormal. No badniks, weirder music, and gray sky. Just like the abnormal Green Hill 2. Tails didn't appear this time though. Continuing on to Act 3, Marble Zone retained its darkened world, different palette, no badniks, gray sky, and about halfway through the stage, however, the hitting boss sound effect played and repeated itself about 6 times. On the 7th, I've heard the explosion sound effect, and the badnik destroyed sound effect. I clearly wasn't battling Robotnik at this time. Who done this? Of course it had to be him. When I reached where Robotnik's machine should be, it never appeared. The boss music played, but nothing appeared. After at least 2 minutes, I finally found something come from the left side of the room. Tails jumped in from the left side. His shoes were entirely colored black now. The fox jumped right into me. I thought I was supposed to be fighting Tails, so I did so and fought back by jumping on the little fox. Like the regular Sonic 1 bosses, Tails took 8 hits to defeat, who kept jumping into me. When I defeat Tails, he suffered knockback and fell into the lava pit, slowly sinking. I can hear faint, distorted words coming from the Genesis at the same time. Why? Why did you make me sink into lava and die? You'll pay for this, Sonic. Was Tails trying to speak to me from the Genesis console? No, that couldn't be. The next zone was Labyrinth Zone. Clearly wasn't the 3rd zone in the original game. The music was gone now, and the badniks were turned into TS. Stands for Tails. Perhaps? Stands for Tails, perhaps? At least the badniks are back now. The water was now pitch black, and I felt afraid to go into it all the time. At the end of the act, there was a long hallway. I finally reached the end of it, seeming forever to get to the final room. There was a blank room. After a minute, a switch rose up from the right side of the screen, but I can't make Sonic move. Tails came up from the right side as well, now pitch black himself. hit the switch, followed by him quickly jumping away. When he jumped away, the switch exploded and the drowning music started to play. Walls were closing in, and when Sonic was standing, he looked a lot more frightened than usual. Right when the walls came to contact with Sonic, the screen turned to black and the music stopped at a loud note. Now it was left black for what seemed forever. I finally considered turning the Genesis off and going to bed. I probably shouldn't have. All there were Tails and I in a pitch black room. With his appearance when he first met Sonic in the game, he began to open his mouth and speak in his normal childish voice, distorted somehow. I was distorted. I was forgotten. I was a subject of ridicule. Don't you want to play something with me? Why do I always get to be Sonic's sidekick? Those words broke my heart as soon as I heard them. I felt Tails' pain. He was incredibly disappointed with how he was always Sonic's basic meat shield. He wanted to get revenge on the Hedgehog and become Sega's new hero. As I was heartbroken as mentioned, Tails said one more word. Goodbye. I woke up, and the Sonic 1 Tails cartridge was instantly non-existent. I swear it could have been there before I was fast asleep. I then text messaged my friend Taylor about my experience. I had this creepy experience with that Sonic 1 Tails ROM hack. All Taylor said was, Sonic 1 Tails? Never heard of it. So that was Sonic 1 Tails. Well, that was interesting. Interesting story, especially for its ending. Like, that ending just added to how this story was written, in my opinion. Like, the slight mindfuck of an ending worked pretty well for the story. And I kind of thought the story was kind of just gonna be a kind of decent story, but it more so seems to be pretty good in my opinion. Specifically a 6 out of 10. I honestly really like how things were executed, and I also really like how this story is also well formatted and barely has any grammar issues. Overall, the story was a good read, and I kind of don't have much to say about it. That's all for this episode of Horror Stories from the Internet. Sorry for how short this review was and how short this episode may be. But just, this pasta was kind of short, and I have to say about it, unlike what I had to say about Sonic.exe on my last review, my last review. But yeah, if you have any pastas you want to suggest to me to cover, tell me in the comments below. And if you have any pasta you made and wish to share it somewhere, or share it on my forum site and stuff. This is Wonder Hellblazer. And I'll see you all next time in the next episode.